Next, it's my great pleasure to introduce Mr. Desmond Ng, the China Director and Chief Representative of the Malaysian Palm Oil Council. He has been working for MPOC for more than 20 years and has lived a long time in China and understands the Malaysian palm oil industry and the China market very well. So it's a great opportunity for us to learn from Mr. Ng about the prospects for the palm oil industry here in China.
Good afternoon, His Excellency Indonesian Ambassador to China and Mongolia, Mr. Jauhari Orat Manggun, Tan Sri Dato' Dr. Yusof Basiron, Professor Gukaran, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I wish to thank CPOPC and EPCO Worldwide for inviting me to share my views in this webinar on why China can and should play a role in shaping the futures of sustainable palm oil industry. Next, as we all know, China is a leader among the developing country pledges to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals 2030 and has also set out its country plan on the implementation on 2030 SDG in September 2016. In fact, China has the Sustainable Development Goal high in the country's development agendas since the mid-90s, which has been part of the national development strategies. Today, China has been making fast progress in the action plan laid out, and among them, China has made great leaps in reducing poverty and reaching the benchmark laid out in the Sustainable Development Goals in 2020, last year, lifting more than 500 million of its own citizens out of extreme poverty, 10 years ahead of the 2030 goals timeline set under the first SDG, which is no poverty. Of course, all the SDGs were also high in the country's Sustainable Development Strategy agenda, with the latest pledge on peak carbon emissions before 2030 and carbon neutral before 2060, which has caught a lot of attention globally on China's determinations. Hence, we can see that China is aggressively and seriously moving ahead towards its commitment of sustainable development and SDG 2030. Next. Anyhow, while making significant progress on various sustainable development initiatives, including the alleviations of poverty and improvements in food supply systems through various measures, the transformations of food system in China to fully sustainable has encountered several challenges due to the changes in the domestic and international environments. Among all these challenges includes the increasing resources and environmental constraint, which means per capita arable land is very limited due to the growing populations and economic developments. Secondly, the contradictions between the small farmer that are not efficient in terms of productions to cater for the growing and all bigger demands from the domestic and even international market. Thirdly, the growing impacts of climate changes. And finally, the pressure remains high on food supply or food security in China. Hence, various measures also being identified and further strengthen openness and cooperations with actively safeguard world food security has been identified as one of the many measures to overcome these challenges. Here, the further strengthening of openness and cooperations means China will be actively engaging the foreign countries in jointly achieving the transformation of food system sustainably. And one sector that China can look into working closely with foreign countries to support the initiative is the oils and fat sectors, where China has to rely on importation to satisfy the demand-supply gap due to the limited arable land. Next. Being the world's second largest economy, demand for oils and fats in China has been growing annually. And although the growth rate is slower in recent years due to the lower GDP growth, the annual demand growth in volume has been staying between 500,000 tons to 1 million tons annually. And it is foreseen that this growth in terms of volume will stay in many years to come in near futures. Next. Nevertheless, while the demand keep increasing, the reliance on importations for oils and fat supply has been increasing along the year, whereby in 2014, oil derived from imported seeds became the major source of supply, and by 2020, locally produced oils and fats using the local resources only able to satisfy 25% of the total oils and fats demand in the country. So if the importation remain accounted for 75% of total supply into future, regardless of whether it is through direct import or crushing of imported oilseeds, which means China's demand or reliance on importations will continue to grow in years to come. But due to the changes in country's policy towards sustainable development of food supply system, the reliance on direct imports of oils instead of crushing imported oilseeds is expected to increase in coming years. Next. Among the various major oil consumed in China, soybean oil, palm oil, and rapeseed oil accounted for 42%, 17%, and 12% share. And in the past 20 years, it was soybean oil and palm oil that has generally satisfied the growth in demand in China by 22.6 million metric tons in the past in the 20-year span, where soybean oil accounted for 13.6 million metric tons and palm oil accounted for 5.2 million metric ton increase recorded in the country in the 20 years. But what we don't see from this chart is that almost all soybean and half of the rapeseed oil consumed are being mainly derived from the imported oil seeds. Coupled with the palm oil consumed, which is totally reliant on import, we can see that the three major oils have been basically being supplied through importation. Although soybean oil still accounted for largest share in terms of oils and fats demand, China is making effort to cut down the reliance on imported oilseeds, which means lower imports of soft oil in the form of seeds will be seen in future. This will lead to the increased demands of direct imports of oils and fats, and shares of palm oil is expected to increase as it is the most affordable vegetable oil in the world. Next. So, being the second largest vegetable oil consumed in China, China's demand of palm oil has made the country the second largest palm oil importing country in the world, and also the second largest Malaysian palm oil importers in particular. As such, China is also the third largest palm oil consuming country behind Indonesia and India, accounted for close to about 9% or 1/10 of global palm oil demand. Hence, being such a significant consuming country of palm oil, participations of China in shaping sustainable palm oil industry through adoptions of certified sustainable palm oil will bring major changes to the industry, especially when oil palm is the most efficient crop in the world. Next. So aside from being an important oil contributing to the various needs in China, why China should and able to play vital roles in sustainable palm oil industry? And with many schemes available in the market, why collaborations with producing country would be the best approach to work on supporting sustainable certified palm oil initiative. Being the most efficient oil crop, which is 5 to 9 times of oil yields compared to soybean oil and rapeseed oil, the higher yield not only able to produce more oil out of the same area of land, but also enable palm oil to be more affordable, to be a more affordable vegetable oil as compared to other vegetable oil. And most importantly, being a perennial crop, the supply is uninterrupted throughout the year. This is very important criteria that I see in contributing to the concept of sustainability. Besides that, palm oil industry can also contribute to many other aspects which is seen able to enhance the achievements of the 17 SDGs in layout by UN, as compared to many other major vegetable oil which only contribute significantly a handful amount of SDGs. And why China should work with producing country? Because the producing country-led sustainable certification scheme has better understanding and holistic approach on the needs in developing the certified sustainable palm oil, where interest of the entire supply chain is being taken into account, especially the welfare of small farmers, which accounted for 40% of palm oil outputs, and not only skewed towards the interests of end users like some other non-government-led scheme. Of course, there are still many other reasons for working with palm oil producers in which is able to address the sustainable development issue. Next. For instance, the Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil Certification Scheme launched by Malaysian government in 2013 has able to address most of the SDG focus on 5P, which are people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnerships. And various issues being addressed by the adoptions of MSPO includes the technical and financial support from government, empowerment of smallholders, enhanced competitive advantage in international trade, no deforestation, long-term and stable growth, management of commitment and transparency, better water and waste management, reducing GHG emissions, protect workers' rights, contributing to social responsibility by improving living standards, and many others. Next. And as of today, Malaysia has achieved close to 90% certified palm oil production through the implementations of MSPO, showing also the determinations of Malaysia's efforts to assure the palm oil produced by the country will be fully certified, sustainable in the near future. And in order for MSPO certification scheme to continue, offers balance between the ideals of sustainability criteria and the needs of all involved in the industry, especially smallholders. The Malaysian governments and relevant bodies have been actively looking into improving the scheme from time to time. Hence, this shows that the Malaysian palm oil industry and also Indonesian palm oil industry, which has its ISPO, as well as the respective governments of these two major palm oil producers, are in the best positions for the importing countries like China to work with on identifying what is the best practice on sustainable developments of palm oil industry that will benefit not only China, the producer, but most importantly, benefiting the world in the attainments of many of the UN Sustainable Development Goals 2030. That's all from me, my presentation today. Thank you.